We can't have inmates running the prison. We can't have inmates running the prison. We can't have inmates running the prison.
Touchdown, Texans!
It's Hopkins. Tough assignment. One-on-one against Hopkins. Look at the stutter, step and go. Swims over the top.
We can't have inmates running the prison.
Touchdown, Texans! Norwich goes high in the air. Did he come down with it? Touchdown, Texans!
We can't have inmates running the prison.
Touchdown, Texans!
At a practice on Friday, but they pushed him back, and it will be Fuller who will start this at the 33-yard line.
Touchdown, Texans! Touchdown, Texans! Touchdown, Texans! Touchdown, Texans! Touchdown, Texans! Touchdown, Texans!
Houston, Texas owners Bob McNair is still getting backlash for his, quote, inmates running the prison comment.
As the National Anthem rang out before Sunday's game, the majority of the Houston Texans kneeled in protest following controversial comments made by team owner Bob McNair.
The phrase is inmates running the asylum. He said inmates running the prison.
We can't have inmates running the prison.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dave and Beak Show. The podcast for your punk ass.
The burden of proof is on Colin Kaepernick. There has to be some sort of evidence, an email, innuendo, that somehow the owners, GMs got together somewhere and is documented proof that somebody dropped the hammer and said, do not hire Colin Kaepernick. Well, we know there's no evidence out there. No one's going to admit that. Again, this is the game. Everyone knew when you took that knee, that's the trade-off. I don't need to document that, a wink in the eye, an email, a text, a messenger. It's all understood. Stay off the phones, just like The Wire. But nevertheless, it just brings to the forefront the issue of power. Hey, Dave, these players are millionaires. Michael Jordan has all the power in the world, does he? Do we know what power really means? Bill Rhoden, African-American sports journalist, New York Times, wrote a book called $40 Million Slaves. When the NBA was on strike, people critique NBA players when they talk about we didn't have enough money, or when people say, how could they be slaves? Well, the first thing, the reality is you can't take it literally. That's the first thing. We know LeBron James is not Kunta Kinte. Come on now, let's be real. But let's take it to another level. Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, says, if you don't take a knee, you're going to miss a game check. What?
You said it backwards, Dave. You mean if they do take a knee?
My bad. Number 45 said they should miss a game or some not be fired, be suspended a game. Now, why doesn't he put this same emphasis on Congress? You need to increase minimum wage. We need to work on the environment. We need to improve public education. And if he's a Republican, why is the government getting involved in a private business? This is beyond crazy. It's like that character Pizarro in Superman. Everything's in reverse. Sometimes I think I'm crazy. But this is crazy. So back to Jerry Jones. So here we have this adult, Jerry Jones, telling these other adults what they should do during a civic ritual. The National Anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner.
Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, said that any player who disrespects the flag will not play for the Dallas Cowboys. Snerdley, you're a Cowboys fan. You agree with that?
In my job, do we have to stand up at lunchtime and say these civic rituals? Does it mean we don't respect the veterans? Of course it does. Now, we do respect them. Let's stop saying that. But why does the flag only represents one group with 330 million people in America? The flag represents everybody. So for example, they defend freedom. Well, guess what? Freedom's not only being defended, freedom is also action. You like cereal, don't you, Beaks?
Sure.
The flag represents that truck driver that drives through the night so you can have your Rice Krispies and all the 7,000 kinds of cereal you have in the supermarket. Freedom of choice. Freedom is that barber able to get a license to make sure they know what they're doing. Don't cut your throat so you can have a good cut so you can get that job. So we're all represented by the flag. In fact, I could take a knee for this nation's inability to live up to its creeds and promises. I could take a knee for this nation's inability to have gun control. So everyone is represented on this flag, not just the veterans. I'm sick and tired when people say that. Really, what we need to be saying is how can we treat the veterans better and not get caught up in symbolic civic rituals, and let's get down to the brass tacks. How do we treat veterans when they return from war? Are they getting all the treatment they need? Why are they unemployed? Why does the Veterans Affairs Office was chaos? This is the real issue. But what 45 knows that people get caught up in emotion.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
The flag, the ceremony. So in spite of what Kaepernick said about police brutality, now we shifted. So let's go back to Jerry Jones, who took 2 knees. Because why? His players were upset. It's all business, folks. It's not personal. Let me do this today and see if it stops. Well, it doesn't stop. It continued. But when we look at sports and athletes and slavery, now I'm going to get you to a whole nother level. It's about power. So when one is enslaved, the owner of that person owns their body, owns their labor, owns everything.
I want some food now. If you don't like it, you can take me back to the penitentiary and kiss my hungry black ass goodbye, all right? And I want some food in a nice place, a nice atmosphere, with some good people.
Okay, hold it. I'm hungry. Let's go get something to eat. I know a place. All right?
All right, let's go.
All right.
With some mandolins, with some violins.
Yeah. There's your goddamn dinner.
Now, we find that, you saw Roots, Kunta Kinte ran away, enslaved people still had their own human agency, say, you know what, I'm out of here. I might get caught, but I'm out of here. Or many of these enslaved women poison slaveholders. That's a human action. I'm making a choice to poison this crazy slaveholder. Now, if we look at professional sports, we see we have something interesting. Back in the day, they had this law called the reserve clause, where owners of the team can trade you and you had no choice in the matter. Curt Flood, all-star center fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. So one day the owner said, you know what, Curt, we are sending you to the Philadelphia Phillies, and Philly was a racist city. And there was nothing Curt can do about it. So he said, no, I'm not reporting to the Phillies. He goes to court. The U.S. Supreme Court even backed the reserve clause. That's why these guys played on the same team for 35 years. They had no choice. This is why you don't like free agency. You like the reserve clause model because your team, your emotion, you're connected. These players are business people that have rights and choices as a free human being. Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones takes a knee one day in the name of unity, but says, I'm going to bench you if you take a knee. That's a plantation kind of mentality.
So telling me to take a knee and all this other nonsense, I'm grown. As they say, I'm a grown-ass man. That's crazy. But it's about power. See what I mean? And it's a continuum of power. So what happens now, Kaepernick made a decision. Now, this is power. We're not going to employ you. I don't need to spank you I don't need to give you a Toby, lash you up with a whip with that naked power. That's the old model. I just won't give you a job. If you do this, you'll miss a game check. You see, that's power. Because we know in capitalism, you got to eat. That's what Rodin's talking about. Stop thinking of it literally. This is how we're talking about it. So even though I'm a millionaire, this other billionaire is going to tell me how to act. But athletes do have a choice. One, you don't have to play in professional sports. That's why you're not enslaved. So stop saying, when you say that, gotta be more analytical. You have a choice.
Yeah, but do they really have a choice, Dave? The NFL Combine almost seems like a slave auction, right?
Grown men in their drawers running around. They measure their fingertips, their hands. They look at their butt size. Wow, he got a big rear end.
As advertised, we have a fine cargo. Choice, healthy slaves recently landed by the Lord Ligonier, largely from the River Gambia. They've made a fine passage, in prime, healthy condition. Those desiring to inspect the items being offered for defects and blemishes, please step forward at your pleasure.
Okay, moments ago in John Lott's weight and reps room, 225 is the pound.
We got a live one.
Lock it out.
Nice, nice.
Dave, he set a
job,
record.
son.
He bench pressed 225 pounds. He did it 49 times.
The auctions, brother.
Oh, yeah.
So that's symbolic. But again, it's required to play in the league. Again, because you're not enslaved, you don't have to play in the league. This is why when you play in the league as an athlete, you want to be conscious. Get the money, build an institution that create legacies in your family and community. So on the one hand, yes, you did the combine. You had to do what you had to do to make the millions. But this is why it's so important to be conscious. And when you're conscious, look what happened to Colin Kaepernick. See what I'm saying? That's what these owners don't want. That's where the slave analogy comes in. I want you to do X in order to play on this team. That has nothing to do with your skill set. So Jerry Jones is exerting power. Now the owner of the Detroit Lions, I believe is Martha Ford.
Her name's Martha Firestone Ford.
She's saying, take it, do the national anthem, and I will donate money to your charities. Now, this is a problem with that model. How much billions have we spent on poverty? How many billions have we spent on these other programs, and we still have the same issue like homelessness? As Cornel West says, philanthropy is not justice. Why are people not eating? Why are people living on the streets? So when you fund these discussions, this is how they go down. They hire professionals who get a nice paycheck. Then we'll get a photo out. We have the players, you'll have the police chief, but they're not going to get to the core of the issue. Why is it when black people get pulled over, they're disproportionately killed by police? That's the deep question that just throwing $1 million is not going to solve, because 2 weeks later, there'll be a cop in Detroit that's going to pull over a brother and sister, end up dead or hurt.
Jerry Jones can't fire the whole team, Dave. The NFL can't fire the whole league.
And that's why the difference, that's power, that's agency. If they all take a knee, they're going to cancel that game. Can you imagine advertisers are pissed off? I don't watch it already. Can you imagine? That's the difference. See, when you're enslaved, now again, you always can make that choice, right? But you're going to pay a price. But you're still paying a price, but you have a choice. You can take the knee as a team and see what happens. But when you're legally bound to some person, there's also violence, right? There's also other coercive to make you do what they want to do. But this is the difference. You can make a choice to take a knee as a team, and let's see what the impact is. So that's what Bill Rhoden was saying, the $40 million slave. But now people are saying, well, since you make money, you should be quiet. This isn't slavery. See, again, that's another problem. So once I'm rich, I gotta be quiet?
I am a slave, yes, I'm only a slave. They'll place my body in an unmarked grave. In these Confederate days, it's kinda hard to lift every voice singing while worrying about how low the sweet chariots are swinging. I could swing from a tree, but hey, oh, I hope and pray they don't kill me today. I am still just a slave.
If the Emancipation Proclamation was passed in 1863, why weren't you free until 1865?
Well, it took 2 years for the Civil War to end.
Oh, so you were free when the war ended?
Nah, not for 2 more months, because Texas landowners wanted another harvest.
That's not cool.
Well, none of it was cool. But an army ship arrived on June 19th, 1865 and announced we were free. That's why we celebrate Juneteenth.
I am a slave and the home of the brave, a product of the triangular trade. Please pardon my ways if I'm nervous or the slightest bit skittish in the presence of the Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, or British. They kept me in colonial chains. Tell me how to persuade them to chill or to save me, and still I'm a slave.
What would happen if all the players just refused to play?
Wow, that would be something that's power being challenged right there. In fact, let me read you a quote from a sports columnist, and the quote is this: "After the Civil War settled slavery, the slavery issue, owning a ball club was the closest one could come to owning a plantation, owning a ball club, because of that reserve clause." You see where I'm going? So Kaepernick took a knee. He all of a sudden can't find a job. You see where I'm going now? There's no reserve clause, but let's be honest. We'll use excuses, distraction, he can't fit the system, but it's the same thing. It's power. So when they say $40 million slaves and athletes, it's more complicated how these systems work. If I do X, I don't get to eat. But I have a choice. I don't want to go run in my underwear in the 40. Okay, then you can't make the millions in the NFL. When one is enslaved, the old pre-13th Amendment model, your choices are restricted. But even in that space, many human beings ran away and said, you know what, I'm out of here. This is terrible. I'm going to resist, like Frederick Douglass. So that's when we talk about the similarities. So Jones is exerting his power. And this is what we're talking about. So players do have power, but it comes at a price. You miss a game check. And they don't have guaranteed contracts. That's in the back of your head. And you might be treated like Kaepernick and not get a job in the NFL. You can play in Canada. You won't make as much money, but you'll make some money. Something to think about. And this is how systems work with power. So slavery is about power. That's what Roland's talking about. Power to make decisions. So you know this is calculated. If I'm Des Bryant, I got family to feed, I need to make this money. If I decide to take this knee, I miss a game check, I might get cut, and I might be like Kaepernick. Jones doesn't have to say that, but folks aren't stupid. We see what's going on. From Jones' perspective, if I don't do anything, my consumers may not stop consuming my product. Almost sound like drugs, huh? So that's how these decisions are made. So I want you to really think when you watch NBA, when you watch the NFL, these players have choices, but the imagery is so similar. I mean, even listen to these announcers. Who's always the heady player? The white guy, he's smart. Who's always instinctual? The black guy, who ain't got no brain, it's just natural to cut left. All of that. Who are all the journalists in the Basketball Hall of Fame, NBA, all white guys who decide because you don't want to talk to them, you can't get into Hall of Fame. That's power. That's what I'm talking about, folks. So when they say this slavery thing, just think of it in power and stop locking yourself into the image from Roots, which most people, that's all you know about slave Roots, when he changed his name to Toby. You're not going to beat Colin Kaepernick with the lash. It's not going to happen. I'm just gonna give you a paycheck and not sign you. Des Bryant, you thinking about it, brother? I know you got them kids. I know you got some folks to look out after. Just saying. So Jerry Jones have to bring a whip in the locker room, a bullhorn, strap someone to some old post. What, are you kidding me? You know, corporal punishment in our system. It's just payback. And we know what payback is. It rhymes with Mitch. So it's about a power competition between the players and the owner. Who has the power? This, like the guy of the baseball team, this plantation, who has the power in this system? So we are witnessing something here, folks. Let's see where it goes. I'm really excited about it. We'll see what happens. Am I optimistic? We'll see. They're talking and negotiating this week. So I see a compromise. Some sort of deal. Stay in the tunnel, stay in the locker room, some way where, according to Jones, that his fans win, where you got a sideline of 50 guys, you know, going through the civic ritual. Then you got 20 guys in the locker room. But then we'll see what happens from there with endorsements. Oh, you're not patriotic. So this is complicated. But as I said, it's about power, and that's what Jones is exerting, his power as the owner of a team. But again, this whole civic ritual stuff, why is it in these spaces and not every space?
Yeah, plus people in power refuse to engage in any type of dialogue with an opposing view.
We can't have dialogue, can't have discourse, or this whole when is the right time nonsense. Did the British ask George Washington when's the right time to have a revolution? Hey, George, think you can do it next week? Nah, I'm busy, dog, getting a haircut. Oh, my bad. That's ridiculous, but that's, again, privilege and power. People in power want people without power when to do things. You don't tell Jerry Jones when to do anything. He does it when he wants to do stuff. Look at the president. I can't stress it enough. He does and say whatever he wants whenever he wants. That's power.
Yo, my lyrics is lyrica for your fibromyalgia. So you can throw in the towel, start fighting the power. How can they fight against ISIS with white supremacist gloves? So it's the opioid crisis, but not the war on drugs. Cause Mitches keep snitching, his finders get feed. But are they ratting out real cats? I just wanna be supreme bigger figures. As grim as the reaper, it's like limousine liquor. Man, there ain't nothing cheaper. If my clique is still coming clean with that new car smell, whether hell or high water, it's the kids that never fell. So rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief. You playing ball for a wealthy man, you better not take a knee. Cause it's the new world order, and nothing shorter than petrified. They danced in Miami on the day that Fidel died. Cause there's never an avalanche when it comes to advantage. And the leaves never fall from a branch that's been damaged. Cause if the fans keep watching, boy, your cot is forgotten. 3 hots in the cot, that's how they lock in your options. Another slave to the grave until the game is just rotten. So am I picking the favorite, or am I still picking cotton? I refuse to get shook. I'm getting the shakes. So I study my playbook and I just wait for a break. Yo, I try to hesitate till the tables are turned. Started from the ground floor, you think his owners have learned. Burning like some ashes that you stash in the urn. A body in the casket till it's a basket of worms. Cause you can't have the prisoners running the prison or the commissioner. But who's really winning?
Now, we've been at this for about 2-3 months right now. Would you say so, Beaks? And our show is prophetic. Some of the issues that we've talked about, we have seen or continue to see on television. Sexism. We talked about LeVar Ball and the woman referee in Las Vegas. Cam Newton, a few weeks ago, was surprised that a woman knew about routes in football. We talked about Colin Kaepernick and collusion. We mentioned that. He filed a grievance last week against the NFL about collusion, that he can't play in the league because of his position.
Plus, we talked about the events in Charlottesville and the lack of African-American ball players in the major leagues today, plus a host of other topics. So just keep rocking with us, and we're going to keep rocking with you, because it's the Dave and Beak Show, the podcast for your punk ass. And that's all for today, folks. Our show is now available for download. If you go to our Twitter page, you'll be able to find the links to iTunes, to Libsyn, and also to Podomatic. We'll bring you another episode as soon as it's humanly possible, because without you, there would only be us.
The dark brown shades of my skin only add color to my tears. Oh, that splash against my hollow bones that rocks my soul. Looking back over my false dreams that I once knew, wondering why my dreams never came true. Is it because I'm black? Somebody tell me, what can I do? Oh, Lord. Oh, something is holding me back. Is it because I'm black? Yeah. In this world of no pity, I was raised in the ghettos of the city. Yeah, oh Lord. Mama, she worked so hard to earn every penny, yeah. Oh, Lord. Something is holding me back. Is it because I'm black?